Okay guys, what's going on? Gaming Jake here. I know that this is my first video since my channel updates, and after my channel update I said that I was going to do videos that week. However, last week I needed last week after my channel update video to have everything going on from school-wise to other stuff to adapt to my new schedule, because everything was in the process of shifting from one day to another, and that was all finishing up last week. So now it's completely good. My schedule is now 100% on track, and with that we can start the first official video with the new schedule. So in this video I'm going to be talking about Final Fantasy 15, and this game, I got it back in November, I think 2 weeks after it came out, and I got it on Redbox. And if you don't know what Redbox is, it's like those Blockbuster places that used to be in business before Netflix and Hulu and stuff. Like, you would rent out a movie for a couple of days, and then for each day you would pay X amount of bucks. It was usually 3 or 4, maybe it hit 5 depending on what movie it was. And then you took it back to Blockbuster, and voila. And let's say for example, if you lost your movie, like if you lost the movie that you rented, then you have to pay the full price for it. So that's not necessarily how Redbox works, but Redbox, they charge you per day about $3 for every day that you have it from when you purchased it. So I got Final Fantasy 15. I had it for 3 days. I spent $9 on it, and I absolutely loved it. I loved everything about it. I got up to the point, spoilers, by the way, this video contains spoilers. I got up to the point to when, like, you're in the factory or whatever as Noctis, and you're alone. You're looking for Prompto, and you don't have Ignis or Gladio with you. So I got up to there within 3 days, and then I had to take it back, but then I got it for Christmas and I finished it. I didn't realize I was that close to the end of the game, because that is one of the later parts in the game. But I beat it, and I loved it. I loved everything about it, except for the fact and this is just this is how Square Enix makes their games, or at least all of the games that I've played by Square Enix, is after you beat the final boss, you, it restarts your save file to the last save point. So I really wish it was sort of like Pokemon in a sense, to when after you beat the game you can continue playing around. However, that's not the case with RPGs, because then sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Because especially with games that have a progressive story, Final Fantasy has a different story per game, like 14, 15, etc., etc. But Kingdom Hearts is an ongoing story. So at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, like, you go into the Chain of Memories castle. Well, if you were allowed to play that, or if you were allowed to play after the final boss of Kingdom Hearts, then essentially you would be going to, or where the game put you anyway, with the final cutscene, would be at the Chain of Memories game, with the Castle Oblivion. And that obviously takes place in the Chain of Memories game for the PlayStation 2 and the Game Boy. So I can see why they don't do it, because it will mess up with the story in the long run, and it wouldn't make any sense. But other than that, that's the only thing I don't really like about Square Enix's RPGs. But again, that's not too big of a problem. But I'm going on. So that's really the one thing I didn't like about it, because I beat the final boss and it saved me right before the final boss. Because with Final Fantasy 15, you spend 10 years doing absolutely nothing. So, and then you come back and then you defeat the final boss. So, and that's from the point to when I was in the factory. Then you spend 10 years doing nothing, and then you go fight the final boss. So there's stuff that happens within that 10 years. I'm just not exactly sure because I haven't delved into it enough. So the last save point is after those 10 years. During the final boss sequence, you can't go back and do whatever you want to. Like, you have to do the final boss, and then you beat the game, and then it spawns you right back before the final boss, and then you have to do it again. Like, you can't go back before those 10 years. You'd have to make a new save file. Or maybe you can, and I just don't know about it. But there's a Chocobo festival going on around now that you can DLC. I think it's DLC for your PS4, or maybe it's just like an in-game thing. But regardless, it looks cool. It looks dumb at the same time. I'm all for character customization, but when we have a prince that wears this black leather jacket and he looks like he stands up straight, and he's like, I'm awesome, and then he puts on this weird hat, I don't know. I mean, his regular outfit, his, what's it called? he's got a regular outfit rather than his prince outfit. He's got like a custom attire outfit, and it's a t-shirt, a hat, and a sleeveless vest, or a sleeveless hoodie vest. So it's weird. It doesn't seem like it's Noctis' style. But in the Chocobo thing's the same way. But I'm sure the Chocobo thing is fun. I know it has mini games and stuff, but I have not played that yet, and I probably won't. But overall, Final Fantasy 15 was a tremendous game that I absolutely loved. I want to honestly say one of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much was because of the combat system, how they sort of dropped the turn base that they traditionally do with their Final Fantasy games, and instead they moved it a little bit more closer to real time. Actually, that's exactly what they did. They moved it to real-time battle sequences, similar to that of Kingdom Hearts, which I personally am a huge fan of. That's, you know, when I think of an RPG, I immediately think of Kingdom Hearts, and that play style and that battle and whatnot. Although I do enjoy turn-based RPGs, such as Pokemon and etc. But yeah, so Final Fantasy 15 was a great game, not only for the gameplay. I loved the story. It was because apparently the game you buy isn't the full game. However, when I played it, it seemed like it was the full game. Now, it's not obviously the entirety of the full game. Like, there's different stuff that's missing, such as backplot and side quests, or side stories rather, per character. But in all honesty, for me, being a new Final Fantasy fan, and for wanting to get into the franchise for so long, Final Fantasy 15, even though it was unfinished, was a perfect game, or was a perfect gateway for me to jump into that. And I actually had a discussion with a friend of mine the other day about gateways into different communities. For anime, we said SAO was the prime gateway. Not saying it's the best, but that it was the prime gateway to anime. And for video games, I think we brought up Pokemon. Or for video games, we brought up different genres, but for RPG, I think it was Pokemon. But anyways, Final Fantasy 15, I loved the open world. The open world, just the color of everything. The color, the feel, I loved it all, because it was essentially, it was like Assassin's Creed meets Final Fantasy in a way. And I'm a huge I do like Final Fantasy now. But I really like Assassin's Creed. The games that I've played and with the movie released, I really enjoyed it. I like the open world feel to where you can climb up buildings and parkour and stuff like that. And I'm very close to doing that in real life. I'm going to do a video when I start doing that about my parkour skills. It's going to be a complete fail. Please look forward to that. But again, I mean, like, I really enjoyed the open field world because it was essentially Assassin's Creed, but with fantasy. So with magic and with swords and with beasts and stuff like that. And that's one of the prime things that I loved so much about Final Fantasy 15. Now, another thing that I did play Final Fantasy 7 about a year and a half before I picked up 15. I got the downloaded version on my PS3. I don't know if it's the same as the original, as the port, or as the disc version that you get for the PS1. But regardless, I absolutely loved Final Fantasy VII. I just got caught up with a bunch of other stuff and I wasn't able to finish it. However, I did get pretty far into the game. At least I think I did. It depends on how long that game is. Actually, I think I downloaded the full version because I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy VII was also an unreleased game and they released other discs to go with it that finished the game. So I think I'm nowhere near beating the game. I think I'm still on like the first disc out of 3. Or maybe I'm just at the beginning of the second disc. I don't know because it doesn't tell me. But regardless, I absolutely loved Final Fantasy VII, even though it was a turn-based game, and that's not essentially what I look for in real-time, or in RPGs made by Square Enix at least. But for its time, Final Fantasy VII was definitely a tremendous game. It revolutionized Square Enix's, I'm going to say it revolutionized just RPGs in general. It was such a popular game, and it still is to this day, and with the remake coming out, I believe, this year? I'm not too sure, because I'm pretty sure Tetsuya Nomura, the director of both Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy VII, or I think just the Final Fantasy franchise in general, said that FF7 Remake and KH3 are not releasing this year, which is a bummer if that's the truth. I heard that around. I'm not sure if that's concrete, but I'm really looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII Remake. However, they are going to need to tone Barrett down a little bit. The text boxes in Final Fantasy VII. I don't think those were enough to keep Barrett's language on the down low. But otherwise, that game may be rated M. I think it may pass the PG-13 or just the teen rating rather. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to Final Fantasy VII overall. On a scale, okay, I'm gonna get off of my nostalgia horse here, and I'm gonna look at Final Fantasy 15 from like a logical point of view, considering everything, considering the game is unfinished, considering you know, the festival stuff, the attire. I'm gonna consider everything from every aspect of the game that I played, from the story, from just goofing around, from the side quest, the boss fight, everything. I'm going to consider everything when I give it this rating. So out of 1 out of 10, 1 being absolute crap, 10 being amazing, must play, keep it in bed with you all night long, like that kind of thing, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 to an 8. Really only because it's unfinished, and I don't know what the rest of the game is like. I'm sure I'd like it, but the fact on how I paid the full price for the game, and I didn't get the entirety of the game's story at least, that does bum me out a little bit knowing that. However, while I was playing that, I didn't know that. I thought I was playing the whole game. But with that now in mind, and considering everything else, which really, again, is just the fact that it's unfinished, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 8. And when or if I get the rest of the 2, or I get the rest of the finished game, that's more than likely going to bump up to at least a 9. So a potential 9, but for right now, 7.5 to an 8. Borderline 8.5. But these sound like Kingdom Hearts names, dear lord. But yeah, so anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know that I don't typically talk about Final Fantasy. I really want to, and I really want to continue doing so. And I've had a few people say, yeah, do Final Fantasy content and stuff like that. But so since today's Monday, this is going to be my Monday discussion video, just talking about Final Fantasy 15 and my overall thoughts. Anyway, guys, this is Game and Jake logging out. Peace.